Hello, I'm Lynda from Scullywag Astrology,
And I'm Donna from Donna B Astrology.
and this is Astro Babble, where we babble about astrology. And today we're discussing the new moon in Virgo. Here's the chart.
Okay, there we go. It's been a while. I've just came back from vacation, so this is the new moon at 4 degrees of Virgo.
Yeah, new moon's about new beginnings, planting seeds, new intentions. So, yeah. Did you want to tell us about the moon mansion for this new moon?
Sure, the moon mansion is the 12th mansion, and it's good for real estate. It's good for building. It's good for sowing seeds. It's good for marriage, and it's good for new clothes and accessories. It's not good for loaning people your things or giving things out and then expecting them back, to loan things out, like borrow. And your pets might be a little unruly on a day
Oh,
when it is the 12th moon mansion.
interesting.
They might get into things like eating things.
Ah, chewing shoes and things
Yeah.
that they shouldn't be. Ah,
So if you have an
interesting.
unruly pet, you might want to keep a better eye on them today for on the 27th.
So, yeah, we have the sun and moon here together, which is what a new moon is. Yeah, it's getting a square from Mars here at 4 degrees of Gemini. So, yeah, could be a lot of rushing, wanting to forge forward, haste. I want to say almost a little bit reckless. I mean, Gemini is a very young, very active sign. That Mars is coming up to retrograde soon, though, and it must be getting very close. Well, when it gets to 8 degrees, so probably 3 or 4 days after this new moon, it's going to be in the shadow period of that retrograde phase. So even though there might be all this excitement and kind of wanting to rush ahead and, implement these new ideas, it might not take very long before you kind of like, oh, coming up against some roadblocks perhaps.
Yeah. I think it's highlighting Mars over there. I mean, it's a new moon and it's saying, okay, we're gonna put up our tension up against Mars with that retrograde period coming up soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Virgos are very, likes things done exactly right. And, Mars is a bit of a, bull in the shop. It kind of wants to just move forward. And yeah, it'll be interesting. We also have at the same time, Venus will be just moving away from its square to Uranus. And we discussed Venus square Uranus and Sun square Mars in our last video, but that we can go over it a little bit more. It's just Venus square Uranus. It's just kind of like, maybe wanting something a little bit more, just kind of spicing things up, and maybe you're attracted to somebody who's a little bit different or maybe just not your partner. And that Sun square Mars is,
It seems energetic. It seems like something's going to happen. With that tension, it creates action. So
yeah, I think we could overexert ourselves, kind of like, when you kind of do an exercise workout or something, and it's like you think, oh yeah, I'm handling this, and then 2 days later it's like, oh, I can't move.
my shoulder
So
hurts.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting new moon. We've got Mercury newly into Virgo, not Virgo, into Libra at the time. So it's just moved from that very exalted state where it was something like 15 points in the essential dignities down to a 3 now, because it's in the terms of Saturn at the time. It's still got a 3 though, because it's in triplicity. Mercury in Libra is quite charming, so it'll help maybe smooth over some of those edges with that Mars wanting to just forge forward, and perhaps that Virgo can be in general a little bit nitpicky. So
very detail oriented.
Yes. Yes.
So, which is, it's good. You need that, a little bit of detail.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a very frustrating new moon trying to implement those new ideas. It's that Mars is going to enter the shadow period very soon. I think it's 30th or 31st of October when it actually retrogrades. So it's got a little while to go yet before it's actually retrograde. But once it gets to 8 degrees of Gemini, it's going to be within that shadow period when it can feel like you're already in the retrograde phase. So we can now go look at the
The
horoscopes.
horoscopes, yes. If you are a Virgo rising, this is going to happen in your first house. So you'll have new beginnings of things that you are working on yourself, like either a new haircut, or you're decided to take a class, or it's time to clean the garage before the weather cools off.
Very good. And if you're a Leo ascendant, this will be happening in your second house. And the second house is your house of income, finances, and resources. So there could be new beginnings. You might be starting a side hustle, or you might be implementing a new budget, particularly since this is a Virgo new moon. It's something that Virgo would really enjoy, drilling down, finding out exactly where all the dollars and cents are going. Or it might be, you're working towards buying a new possession or resource that will be helpful to you.
If you are a Cancer, this new moon is going to happen in your third house, and that's going to be your house of early education. If you have little ones who are going back to school in the northern hemisphere in September, getting all that school stuff. Some kids have started already, but yeah, you might be getting kids ready for school. It could also happen to do with extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins. If something new is happening with them,
Yeah.
this would be the time that you would get wind of that.
And if you are a Gemini ascendant, this new moon is happening in your fourth house. And the fourth house is our parents, our family, our home, our living situation. And it's also real estate matters. So you might be moving, you might be signing a lease on a new apartment, you might be deciding to put your house up for sale at this time, or you might be buying a house, or it could be something related to your parents. Maybe they're setting off on some new adventure, new beginning of some type.
Very cool. Yeah. I know, it's still working with my parents on their kitchen. Yeah, so if you are a Taurus rising, this is going to be happening in your fifth house, and this has this is the house, the fun house. This is the house of pleasure. It could have to do with your children, which is the result of said pleasure. Yeah, or if you want to start a hall or a concert or bingo, or it's something that would be new where people gather.
Yeah.
This is not the time to pick up a gambling habit.
And if you are an Aries ascendant, this new moon is happening in your sixth house. And the sixth house is the house of illness. It is also pets, and it is daily routines. It's service to others as well. So this could be getting a new pet. This could be, unfortunately, perhaps an onset of an illness, or it could be taking the first steps towards addressing that illness. This is often the house of people like doctors, nurses, firefighters, policemen. So it could be something like somebody entering the academy at this time, or graduating from, well, actually, no, graduating would be more full moon. So maybe somebody in one of those arenas is, taking the first steps towards that career.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's a good time to start a good habit, a good health habit.
Yes.
And if you are Pisces rising, this is going to happen in your seventh house, and that is the house of the other person. So if you are starting relationships with a committed other significant other, or trying to get a doctor's appointment, whatever you have the committed relationships in your life, that's where these new things could start.
Yeah. And if you are an Aquarius ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 8th house. And the 8th house is other people's money. It's joint finances, it's taxes, insurance, loans, debts, inheritances. So it could be new beginnings to do with that. Maybe you're going into partnership with somebody, whether that's romantic or business, and you're establishing how your joint are going to work, or maybe you're applying for a loan or something similar.
All that new stuff. If you are a Capricorn rising, this is going to happen in your 9th house, and that's the house of philosophy, higher learning, could be legal cases, might be starting. Yeah, those kinds of things. That higher worldly, more worldly view, even going on a long, far away journey.
And if you are a Sagittarius ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 10th house. So the 10th house is your career and public reputation. So it could be a new job, it could be a new boss, because it's also the house of authorities. It could be you're starting something that will put you in the spotlight somewhat, because this is a very visible house. So new projects that, might bring you some rewards or honors or recognition.
Nice. Nice to be recognized.
It is.
Yeah, so if you are a Scorpio rising, this is going to happen in your house of hopes and dreams, the 11th house. And that can also be things that are starting with friends or your groups that you are associated with. New things could be happening with that. Yeah, that's very cool.
That is. It's another nice house, the 11th, isn't it?
Yes.
The 11th
Yeah.
and the 5th.
To have new things starting there is good.
Yeah. And if you're a Libra ascendant, this new moon will be in your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of our undoing. It's addictions, it's self-defeating habits. It's also things like solitude, though, retreat, and places of confinement, which can include things like hospital or prisons or monasteries. So you might be having new beginnings to do with these things. It's also the house of hidden illnesses, which I think of things like, there's a lot of illnesses, autoimmune diseases, that sort of thing, which a person can look perfectly fine, but, they might be suffering quite badly. So unfortunately, it could be new beginnings to do with that. Yeah. Or maybe you're starting to address one of those issues, perhaps. Or it could be that you're, locking yourself away, working behind the scenes. So, yeah. So that is the horoscopes for this new moon.
Wonderful. So let's
And
talk
I'll
about a
just change
stone. Okay, the stone is this is so Virgo of a stone because it has everything to do with cleaning. I associate Virgos with tidying up, detail, wanting everything to be perfect. My sister has a white kitchen. She's a Virgo, right? Virgo sun. White kitchen. Everything's super, super clean. She bleaches the counter like, I don't know, 6 times a day. No, not really. But they're very particular and meticulous. So
Yeah.
the stone that I use for helping me clean, I will set up a grid, and this is called Smokey Quartz. This is a polished one. So I usually work with stones that are natural. For some reason, there's a lot of polished stuff, but I do the Smoky Quartz is good for protection. It's good. It works on the first chakra, the root chakra. It goes from here. This is a tumbled one, so it's very smooth. This would be a rough one.
Mhm.
So it goes from light tan to almost like a dark chocolate color.
Mhm.
They come in. This would be a rough one. This is a point. It has a trigonal crystal system, hexagonal.
Pretty.
It is more like the regular clear quartz. It's the same system, and it's the
Mhm.
same Mohs hardness. It's good for protection. It's good for grounding. It's good for clearing out. It clears the auric field. I work with this stone a lot. I have a lot of them. It really, I use them very much for grounding. I'll use them in grids. It's just a really good when you want to clear either negative energy out or even cleaning up your environment. You can. This is the crystal you would use.
Yeah,
Smokey Quartz.
I was going to ask about that. Being domestically challenged, what should I do if I go buy a smoky quartz? What do I do with it?
I would sit with it. You can
Mhm.
if you can get like about if you can get a few of them, put them in a grid and just have a grid that's
Mhm.
always up in your house. But if you are, I use it in layouts as well. You know,
Mhm.
if there's stuff that needs to be moved, you want to get that flow back. Smoky quartz is
Yeah,
a good, but yeah, you could sit with it. Yeah, that would be what I would do to get that energy moving.
very good.
Yeah. Oh, and it's found in Brazil, Australia, Madagascar, Switzerland, and the United States. So it's a pretty
Hmm.
common stone. It's not that
Yeah,
expensive. So it is a good stone to have. It was one of my first ones, for sure, for sure.
hmm. Very cool.
Definitely has really good energy with it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, shall we have a look at the upcoming aspects between this new moon and the next full moon? So the next full moon must be in Pisces. Nice.
Ooh.
That will be fun. I think that I haven't looked ahead of it to see what the aspects are, but just full moon in Pisces sounds nice, doesn't it? We'll
It
have a
does.
look by the time we get to the end of the aspects. We'll see.
Sounds good.
I might be eating my words.
Yeah, but we got that Jupiter there in Pisces. Well, it will be, hopefully.
Eventually, yeah. I'm not sure when exactly it goes back into Pisces.
Yeah, not for the full moon.
No, not that quick. It's got a long way to go yet.
Dang.
So yeah, we spoke about the Venus square Uranus. That's already passed, but if you're interested in that, we have a little snippet of it on the Astrobabble YouTube channel. And what was the other one? The Sun square Mars.
Yeah.
That is coming up. It's must be not long afterwards. It must
No.
only be an hour or two afterwards.
Yeah. Not that long.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there could be a real danger of overexerting yourself with this. It's, being too hasty, wanting to move too fast.
Impatience.
Mm.
Especially, I mean, it's in Mercury sign, Gemini. So
Yeah.
it's wanting to move fast, and it's got that energy to move fast, and Mercury's going to allow it to move fast.
And then the next day we have Venus opposition Saturn, which is kind of interesting. So the day before we've had Venus square Uranus. So we've had that, we're a bit bored of the, boring old routine. And here's Venus opposing Saturn to kind of
Put you back in check.
yeah, it's kind of like, yes, it's just a bit boring. We want a bit of adventure. So yeah, try and there's no reason why you can't do that within a current relationship. So it might be a good idea to try and do that.
Right. It has it's committed responsibility. I think of Venus with, opposing Saturn. You have that
Mm.
responsibility and that constraint and that, these are the rules. And
Yeah.
Venus wants to, make nice. So
Yeah. I really don't like the hard aspects to Saturn, but I mean Saturn's my malefic contrary to sex, so of course I don't like it. But Venus trine or sextile Saturn's a lot easier to deal with. But yeah, I just think particularly with Venus having just squared Uranus and then its opposition with Saturn, and then you've got that new moon happening at the same time squaring that Mars that just wants to move forward. I think there could be a tendency to think, well, I'm bored, to jump ship before you've really assessed what's happened, whether that's in relationships or to do with other Venusian subjects, which could be art, it could be creativity, it could be beauty, it could be fashion, it could be lots of things. But I'm seeing this more relationship wise. I think, yeah, some relationships are just going to be a little bit strained. There's the desire for something a bit more exciting, more than this, I think, anyway.
yeah. Yeah, it would feel oppressive a bit.
Mm.
With Venus in Leo, that's that leadership, type of quality. So if you are like if Leo happens to be your 11th house and you're getting a group together, I could see that you're, making sure that the rules have to be made and followed. And
Yeah, that Venus and Leo, she needs a little bit of adoration. She needs to be adored and appreciated. I just don't think Saturn in Aquarius is willing to, treat her like the goddess she is.
very possibly.
And then it's a couple of days after that. It's very sparse, the aspects in this 2-week period, isn't it?
Yeah, it almost seems like this is going to be our lull that we can kind of enjoy, pay attention to the details, get your ducks in line, kind of a period before uh before the retrogrades. And I know the outer planets are retrograding, but yeah,
Yeah.
it could be hard on Venus, with having those constraints and fighting that the Mars,
Yeah.
the impatience of Mars. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the next one? Oh,
Yeah.
the next
And then we've got Jupiter sextile Mars. Well, a retrograde Jupiter sextile Mars on the 1st of September. My goodness, where's the year getting away?
yeah,
I can't believe it. Like what's that? 3/4 of the way through the year.
yeah, it is ticking by.
Hmm. Well, Mars sextile retrograde Jupiter. I think this is, they both want to kind of move and have action and take control on that, but that Jupiter is retrograde, so I think some of the enthusiasm is a little bit lost here. But with Jupiter there's always the potential to go overboard, so
Make things
but it's
bigger.
a sextile, so it shouldn't be too harmful. And I mean Jupiter is in the superior position, so but it's retrograde. It's it's in its own triplicity too, so that helps.
And it's in Mars's sign. So those planets, I think, are going to work well together. You just have to
Hmm.
come up with the activity where you want Mars and Jupiter together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Maybe a very busy, active day.
Yeah, something that with drives, like, or something big.
Yeah. Yeah. Jupiter does like to go big.
I know for the Mars Jupiter, I think it was a square. We had a huge burn pile, like, brush and stuff like that. I burnt it, and it was like huge, but I used the malefics, and I'm starting to learn to love the malefics. Um, I just went a deep dive on Mars recently, and I am trying to you harness
Hmm.
that Marsy energy, and if you can work with it, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can kind of use it as a remediation, kind of find a way to use it productively, that's always good.
Yeah, there's a lower vibe and there's a higher vibe. So if try to strive for that higher vibe, it should work out fine.
Hmm.
It's deciding what is the lower vibe and what's the higher vibe, or the lower intention or the higher intention,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we do have free choice.
We do. And then the day after, we've got Mercury opposing Jupiter.
Well, that should be fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
Yeah.
ooh, let's talk and have this big conversation, and like, it's like, oh well, I didn't want to talk about that particular thing. That's
Yeah.
that's how that looks like to me.
Yeah. Well, Mercury in Libra wants to, doesn't want to ruffle too many feathers. It's charming and suave and, you know, doesn't
Yeah.
want to rock the boat too much or doesn't want to upset anybody really. But yeah, Jupiter in Aries is a bit more roughshod. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's the aspect, or from the angle I'm looking at, which would be the more of the harder influences. The Mercury and the Libra. That's a pretty nice, you know.
yeah, I quite like that. I think with the opposition, and because like Jupiter is all about the big picture, Mercury's all about, the nitty gritty. So they're kind of both associated with knowledge and learning and all that, but it's different types. I think perhaps plans, thinking, ideas could be a little bit pie in the sky, or it could be a little bit maybe you're just kind of being a little bit overly optimistic or overly confident about what you can achieve in a certain amount of time. I mean, they're both cardinal signs, so very good at starting, not so good at maintaining.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, the next
I don't know
aspect
when it is, but we've got Venus into Virgo. So when is that? That
on
looks like
September 5th, the 5th.
wow,
Yeah.
that's moving. Yeah, so Venus, she's not really happy in Virgo,
No. No,
sign of her fall.
yeah. She's looking to bring everybody together and 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 get that, you know, inclusiveness going. And in Virgo, it's, details, and we have to do this and we have to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I think there can be a little bit of tendency for Virgo to be a little bit critical, and I think that doesn't fit really well with Venus's
Idea.
agenda, I
Yeah,
suppose. Yeah.
agenda. Good one. That's a good word. Yeah.
And I mean, Venus is being ruled by Mercury, which is in the sign next to it. Actually, it's interesting. They're in mutual reception, but they can't see each other because when planets are in signs next to each other, it's kind of like they're in their blind spot. Interesting.
It is. I wonder how much help they'll give each other.
And I mean, just because the planet's in fall or detriment, some people think, oh my God, it's the end of the world. It's not. It's just they don't act in a predictable manner. They don't act in the expected way. And thousands of years ago, maybe that was quite problematic. These days, maybe not as much. But Venus, you kind of expect a, loving earth mother type, and this one's a little bit like, well, wipe your feet and do this, and have you done all that? And she's a little bit more exacting in this sign. That's not to say that Venus isn't discriminating in what she likes and approves of naturally anyway, but just, Virgo's got a very sharp eye and very detail orientated. And yeah,
Yeah.
she's not wearing her rose-colored glasses in this sign. Let's put it that way.
No. But she is in Mercury's bounds. They're not in mutual reception, but Venus is in Mercury's bounds. Mercury's in his own bounds, or their own bounds. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
hopefully there's
Mercury's
a little
in a
help.
sign that Venus rules, and Venus is in a sign that Mercury rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they are in aversion to each other. Be interesting to see how that goes. And then you've got Jupiter opposite Mercury, stirring stuff, fanning those flames.
That impatient Jupiter
Sitting
sitting in Aries.
And then we jump ahead to the 9th. Looks like the 9th. We've got Mercury stationing, which this is crazy. It's going to be at 8 degrees of Libra.
Oh,
yeah, all
that
these
8 degrees.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Because
yeah.
Jupiter stationed at 8 degrees of Aries not long ago, maybe a month or so ago. We're going to have Mars that will station at about 25 Gemini, but go back to 8 degrees of Gemini. It's just so weird.
8 degrees, 8 degrees, 8 degrees. So it's Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury that are all going to hit that 8-degree mark during their retrograde periods.
Yeah,
that is quite interesting. That's a trine, a sextile.
Yeah, trine and sextile
and an opposition
to each other. Yeah, it's very strange.
So the shadow period actually starts 2 days from now, and we're taping this on the 20, what day is it?
It's the 18th here, so it must be the 17th there.
Okay. Yeah, it's the 17th here. So it's going to start shadow period.
Yeah.
In 2 days from now.
So Mercury will be retrograde from about the 9th of September to the 2nd of October, but the shadow period will be from the 20th of August to about the 16th of October.
Yeah.
And we did a video a little while ago about Mercury retrograde, and we'll link to that here. And that explains a little bit about the retrograde shadow period as well. Basically, as soon as it crosses the degree that it's going to retrograde back to, the shadow period starts. And after it's finished its retrograde and starts going direct again, it doesn't actually come out of that retrograde shadow period until it passes the degree that it was at when it first stationed retrograde, when it first started going backwards.
Beautiful job explaining that, Lynda. That was really nice.
And that's from a Mercury in fall and detriment.
Oh, very good. Well, you did it well. That was a really good explanation, because you've got all that period of back and forth that it's covering that ground.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And talking about that, we were saying that Mars is going to station round about the 31st of October at about 25 degrees, and it's going to go back to 8 degrees of Gemini, which is, I think, around about the 12th of January next year. But you can see that Mars here is at 11 degrees. It's already in the shadow period. So things to do when Mars is retrograde, it tends to be like you can't move forward. You know, there's delays, obstacles, and just so it's going to be interesting. All these things are kind of all stacking up, all these eights. So
yeah.
It makes me think of that because a year or so ago we had, I think it was a lunar eclipse at 8 degrees of Gemini as well. I don't know. Well, actually, and that was in the last series, because if it was in Gemini, because the eclipses are in Taurus, Scorpio at the moment, but it must have been one of the last Gemini Sag eclipses, I think. So it's be interesting to see if something to do with, I've got to have a look, Donna.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me find out when it was.
Absolutely. I'm sure there are other people who want to know when that was, when Mars was at
when the eclipse
was at 8 degrees Gemini. Yeah, I think I do remember hearing something about that.
Here it is, the 30th of November 2020. So it'd be interesting to see if there's any calling back to that. So there was another one. It looks like it might have been the first one in the series for that. Oh no, there was one in Sag. But yeah, it's just really interesting.
It is very interesting. I remember that date specifically.
Oh, okay.
I had a project to turn in.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it hit my
Who knows? Maybe I'll finally do my my test.
Yep. Yeah. And it was in my very cool. Very interesting. Yeah, I do remember that going back to 8 degrees in Gemini, and I'm like, the eclipse happening.
Yeah. Just all these eights, because that eclipse is on my part of fortune, and this Jupiter stationed retrograde on my sun. This Mercury is going to station retrograde opposite my sun, and Mars is going to retrograde back to my part of fortune. So that will be interesting.
See, and none of that stuff that you just said has anything to do with houses. So if you don't know your time, it's not like our hands are tied and we can't tell you anything about your horoscope. But we can do the techniques of with a time chart, with the chart that we have the time of. But yeah, there's a lot can happen outside of that time chart. I mean, the planets are, when you were born on that day, are pretty much there, and you can tell if you've got planets that are hitting planets of when you were born. But the ascendant and that video will have all of the techniques that we can use. It is much easier, but there's a lot that still goes on without having the houses. And I'm not saying you don't need it. You don't need to know which houses you are, but you know where those things are happening if you do know your time. See, like where is your Mercury? I mean, which house your Mercury's in. So it helps to know the houses.
But for example, like my Mercury's in Jupiter, which when I think about my Mercury, I think my Mercury's in Jupiter. I don't think my Mercury's in my third house.
Me, Mercury's in Pisces?
Yeah. What did I say? In Jupiter?
Jupiter. That's okay. I knew what you meant.
This is what happens when you've got Mercury in detriment and fall. No.
Yeah.
But yeah. It didn't help that I had a glass of wine earlier either.
That's okay. You have gone through your entire day. We're on opposite parts of the earth. I'm in the United States and you're all the way in Australia, so it's nighttime for you. I'm still on
It's well
coffee.
after 5 p.m. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, unless it's in an angular house. I mean, yes, of course, it's always best to have a time chart. It just makes things so much easier, particularly for like annual perfections and that. But as Donna said, you know, you can still look at the transits to your planets, and you know, secondary progressions can be interesting. So
But secondary progressions, don't you need the time?
Well, you couldn't tell when the ascendant progresses, which is a shame, or the MC, but you know, you could tell when
the
you
planets are
know,
all moving up
yeah, like if
here
you
for a
had
day. Yeah.
say Venus come up to conjunct your sun, there's things that you can't tell, but you know, there's ways about getting around it somehow. So
Yeah. So, Lynda, what are you doing and where can people reach you?
I'm at Scullywag Astrology. That's astrology.scullywag.com. And I am doing readings. I'm doing natal readings. I'm doing year ahead, and I'm doing relationship readings. And Donna, what are you up to?
I am as well doing natal readings, electional. I do horary, and I do crystal work as well. And you can get a hold of me you can either go on my website, donnabastrology.com, and, you know, get a hold of me through there, or it's donnabarconsulting@gmail.com. So either one, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. Just if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. Lynda has a thing on her website about getting your, if you plug in your birth information, you can generate your chart
Natal
as well.
chart. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I found something the other day. We can put it on your website so you can do it too.
Perfect.
And don't forget that we cut these videos up into little snippets. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you're like, oh, I'm not going to remember this, have a look for Astrobabble on Facebook or Instagram, because we post the little snippets there, and also on YouTube. So yeah.
Lynda,
Anyway,
you do a
thank you
great
for
job with
listening.
that.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes.
Keeps me out of mischief, which is always a good thing.
Yep. Please
Okay.
like, share, subscribe, comment. All of that helps us get the, you know, channel out there. So we appreciate you listening. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a nice day. Oh,
Bye.
night.
Wherever you are.